Hello everyone. So in this video, I'll go over some of the lab solutions for the labs which are in Unit 1. Um, and we'll start with Lab 1 here. If you can see here, this is what your final outcome should be. So you're supposed to create a web page that should look like this. There should be a heading which should be in blue color, and there should be some text that you can find in the house builder zip file on Moodle. You can just download that file, extract it, and you'll find a file there which is probably called how to build a house. If you open that file, you'll see the text that should be displayed there. So let's get started with that. I'll use Notepad++ for this, and if you don't have that, you can install it on your device. Just write Notepad++ on Google, and you should find the web page for downloading it. Now, the first thing that I should do is basically just copy all of this text because this is what I need to show. And actually, before that, let's just create the basic skeleton of the web page. We should start with, let's say, let me just zoom in a bit. Let's start with HTML tag and end it here. And like we studied before, it should have a head tag within it. You should end it as well. And then there should be a body tag, which should be end here as well. Now, let's try to save this. If I click on save, it should take me to okay. So this is where I want to save my file. The first thing I should change is the type that I want to save it in, and then name it, let's say, right now I'm going to name it lab 1, but you can name it index as well. But because I'm trying to save all my solutions within one file, so within one folder, so I'll just name it lab 1 to better understand it. So lab1 dot HTML is what I would name it, and then click on save, and notice how the color changes. Now for the title, I'll give it let's say lab 1, so we can know that it's lab 1 when it opens up. And we need to copy all of that text from the notepad file that's called how to build a house. It's in the house builder files, and just paste it here in the body. Okay, now if we go back to the slides and we notice here that how to build a house is actually in blue color, right? So we need to change the color of the text. Now for that, I would use, before that, we should also look at what is the type of the text. Is it a paragraph? Is it a heading, or is it something else? In this case, these texts are basically paragraphs, the two texts below, and the heading basically is a heading, how to build a house. Now I can use probably H3 here because it's not that big. So, and then just move the heading within H3. And to give it a color, I would use style is equal to color colon, and because it's blue, I'll just write blue. Okay, and let's see how it shows. So if I save this and go back to where it's saved, open it, yes. So it's how to build a house. I think it's a bit too small. So let's try to use H2 instead of 3. And because I changed it here, I need to change the ending tag as well. Save it, go back, refresh. Yeah, I think now that's better. So how to build a house, and notice how both of it is both the texts are displayed as one paragraph. And if we go back to our um, lab, it should be in two paragraphs, right? The first paragraph ends at do it yourself. All right. So if I try to find that, let me close this so I have space. Yeah. So if I try to find that here, do it yourselves, you notice it ends here, right? So in order to show it as a paragraph, I need to surround all of this in a p tag. That's how you can display a paragraph, right? So I will surround it with a p tag here, and then just move all of this within it. Okay, and the same for the second paragraph. I would surround all of it with the p tag so it displays as a paragraph. Now save it. Let's try to look how it shows up now. Yeah, now it's two different paragraphs. Now, if we go back and see if it is similar or not, you would notice that the do-it-yourself basically um, is not displayed how the other text is displayed, meaning the style of it is different. It's in italics, and the rest of the text is just regular text, or italics, however it's pronounced. Now, if I go back to my notepad, here, if I want to display the word do-it-yourselves in do-it-yourselfers, sorry, that's what's written, do-it-yourselfers, I need to surround it with the I tag, so it becomes italics. Okay, now if I save it, go back and check, notice how it changes. Yeah, so that's how you would change it to um, italics. And now one more thing, if you notice here, step one basically is in what's it called? Bold, right? It's not regular. The style of that word is bold. So in order to change that as well, you can surround that word step one with the tag B. Okay, move that between. So that's how you would display a bold text. Just surround whatever word you want to change to bold with the B tag. Okay, let's save this. Go back and refresh, and now see how step one changes. One thing that's very different between this web page and the one that's displayed here is the font. And if you go back one slide, like if you go to the previous slide, you'll see that in this lab, you're supposed to have the font as Arial. So the whole text on the web page should be of the font Arial. Now, we can do that here. So let's say if you wanted specifically this text to be Arial, you would just add the style for it here. All right. But if you want the whole web page to have the same font, which is Arial, you can just add it in the body or in the HTML. So here in the body, I would just write style equal to font family, and then give it a value of Arial. Save it. Let's see if it changes. Yes, now it's different. Now this looks a bit more similar to what we're supposed to have towards the end here, right? Okay. Now one more thing, or I would say the last thing that's different here, is that in our screen or in our web page, if we take a closer look at it, uh, the whole paragraph is displayed in two lines, right? Whereas in here, the paragraph is displayed in like almost three and a half, or let's say four lines. So how do we do that? How do we break that up so it displays exactly how this screenshot is? There's a tag for that, which is called BR, and it lets you to break. Basically, it lets you to break your text or whatever you're displaying, and allow you to move whatever follows it to the next line. Let's see how to do that. So for that, we'll look at, first of all, where is the first line in the paragraph ending? So the first line ends at projects you can. We'll try to find that in the first paragraph, and here it is, rewarding projects you can. Now, whatever is after you can should be displayed on the next line, right? So just before this, I would add the BR tag. And BR tag, or if you want to write it this way as well, BR tag is a self-closing tag. That means you do not need to put a closing tag for it. What that means is just like how H1 has an ending tag H2 has an ending tag H2, P has an ending tag P, body has an ending tag body. All of these have a closing tag, but BR, HR, image, input, there are many other as well. These tags don't have a closing tag. You can just use them as one tag. Okay, so you can and then undertake would be on the next line. If I save this and show it to you, see, you can is until you can it's displayed here, but undertake is then moved to the next line. Similarly, if we look for the next line ends at and make the. So let's find that, and let's try to move this down so we can see it better as well. Okay. Now make the, right? So this is where our second line ends. So I'll just put a BR tag and then move the text to the next line, go back and look where the third line is ending. It ends at overwhelming for even. So let's go back, overwhelming for even. That's where our third line ends. Break and move it to the next line. Save it and let's see. Okay, so notice how this part is now becoming very much similar to how our screenshot looks. The same thing you have to do for the next paragraph. The next paragraph ends, the first line of the next paragraph ends at make the process go. So I'll um, change that here. Make the process go. BR. Move to the next line. Second line is your home acquire. Your home acquire. And then BR. Move to the next line. And the last one is how to get started building your and then BR next line. Save that, go back to the lab. Yeah, and notice how this now is so much more similar to the screenshot here, right? It's almost identical now. So that's your lab 1. And after this, we'll go for lab 2. In lab 2, we're supposed to create a page which is titled courses.html, and it should basically look like this. There should be two lists. One should be course in ICT degree and the other should be course in web media degree. So let's see how to do that. The first thing we would do is again open Notepad++, try to create a bare minimum HTML page with head, closing the head. Here I would just give it a title. It should, let's call it courses or lab 2. Lab 2 is better, I think. Lab 2, and then body and the body. Save this. And because the lab said that you should name it courses, so I'll name it courses.html. Now save it. Here, again, change the save type to all types and then save. Now here we are supposed to display a list, right? So the first thing that I would display is course in ICT degree. That's the first thing, and I'll probably use H2 for that. So H2 course courses or course in ICT degree. Yep. And then it's system analysis, database systems, and programming 1. Now, because it's a list, let's keep this side by side. So this is here, and this is here. Yeah. So this is a list and it's numbered, right? So any numbered list should be displayed using OL because it's considered an order list. And all your items, like all the list items, should be displayed using the LI tag. So the first one is systems design. Okay, the next one would be database design. Oh, sorry, database systems. Oh, sorry, systems analysis, and then database systems. And the last one is programming 1. That's my ordered list. So if I save this and try to run this, here, notice course in ICT degree, and then system analysis and all of that. You can notice that this is a bit different because this text is a bit bold and this is kind of displayed regularly. So in order to make it bold, you can use the B tag like we saw in the previous lab. So for all of them, you would just surround it with a B tag. Okay. Same thing for the other one. And the same thing for the last one. Okay. Let's try now. Yeah, so it's a bit similar now. Let's move on to the next one. Now this list is bullet list. Now bullet list is you can display a bullet list using the tag UL, and U stands for unordered list. So if you want to display a numbered list, you would use OL, which is ordered list. And then here for the unordered or the bullet list, you would use UL. So here UL, and then LI. Okay, before that, there's a heading course in web media degree. So I would use H2 course in web media degree. Now this is not bold. If you notice, it's italics, right? So I would use the I tag here and then write web authoring. The same for the next one. This is multimedia. So multimedia, and then the last one would be visual design. Save that, and let's see how it looks. Yeah. So course in web media degree, and it's like that. I think the list, the header is a bit bigger, so let's try to change it to H2. Let's try to change it from H2 to H3. That's what I meant. H3, save it. Let's see. Yeah, I think this is a bit similar. So this is how you would do it. Now, there's another thing that comes with the list, and it's basically the list header. You can try that as well if you go, if you check the slides here in one of the list examples, there is LH, which is basically a header for that list. So I can also use this as the header. So LH, which I never saw, but I think it's a part of it. No, I'm not really sure, but let's see. What is the difference? Okay, so it kind of displays like uh, text, but it's not heading. So I think the more convenient or the more similar option here is the one that we did earlier with H3. So I think that's the one. That should be the answer for lab 2. For lab 3, this is what we need to do. We need to create a second page called location.html as shown. The text is available in Moodle. Save it in the same House Builder folder. I don't really mind if you save it in another folder because there are already too many files in that folder. I would suggest that you create one folder for all your solutions. Sorry, one folder for all your labs for that unit. So like how I have here, I have one folder and it contains all the labs that I require. You can also create a folder called House Builder and then save all of the labs there. It's up to you however you choose to do it, but just try to follow a proper structure. That is that you should have one folder where all your files should be stored. You shouldn't be storing your files here and there. Otherwise, you won't be able to connect to them later on. So in this case, we'll try to save it first. So if I save as and give it a name here as mentioned, it should be location.html. Don't forget to change the save type, otherwise you won't be able to view your work. So if we notice here, our web page should look something like this, and you'll find all of this text in a title, in a heading called finding location. Finding a location. So if you go to the House Builder folder that's available on Moodle, you should download the zipped folder and you'll be able to access all of this. So find location.txt is the one we're looking at right now. Just open that, and I think that should be the one. Copy all of it and paste it there. Before that, let's try to build our HTML. Head, body. That's your minimum HTML page. Let's give a title. Um, Here it should be lab 3. And here in the body, you can paste all of that. But before that, um, actually, yeah, let's try to do that. So I'll just paste what I copied. And now let's look at how it should be. It's very similar to how we did lab 1. We noticed that there's a heading. Again, all of the font is in Arial, so I'll change the font to that. Arial, save that. Now the first line or the first sentence, whatever you want to call that, is basically blue in color and it's a heading, right? So we'll try to make it look like that. We'll surround it with, let's say, H2, okay, and move the text within the tag H2, and then give it a style, which is a color basically of blue, okay, and that's how the text should look like currently. So if I go to solutions, location, okay, notice how the text is all over the place. That's what we need to fix. So step 1, finding location, I feel like it's a bit bigger if we compare to this title or this heading there. So let's change this to H3 and let's see if it works or if it looks like how it should look basically. 1 second here, refresh. Yeah, I feel like that's more similar. So if we notice now, the first sentence, or sorry, the first paragraph basically ends, or the first line, let's say the first line of the first paragraph ends at "you'd like to live," right? So I'll find that and I'll put a break there so I can then move to the next line as shown in the screenshot. So if I go back here and just close this, I don't need that. So you would like to live, yeah, you would like to live. That's my first line, and just before that I would put a break. Okay, now the next thing is it's showing a list, right? So there's a bullet list, and from what we learned, we know a bullet list is displayed using the UL, which is unordered list. And here, let's see where it starts from. So basically, it starts from climate, right? So I would surround just before climate, I would basically, oh, my bad. Sorry. All of this should be in a paragraph, right? Because it's displayed as a paragraph. So I'll just move all of that here. Make sure that it's readable. Okay. So this is my first paragraph. Now the next thing is this is supposed to be displayed as a list. So for that, and it's a bullet list. So for that, UL is what we require. And it ends at the word, it ends basically at the word nearby. So let's see where that is. Does it end at nearby? It doesn't end at nearby. Oh, nearby is here. So I think the remaining text is just not required for this lab. So I'll remove it. Okay. And I'll probably just copy all of this and move it within the UL for now. So these are my 4 points that needs to be displayed. Okay. Now, the first one, like I said, all your, like I said in the previous lab, all your list items should be surrounded by the tag LI. Okay, and I'll just move that within the LI tag. Okay, and the same, sorry, the same for the next one. Move it within. The reason I'm just trying to make it look like this so it's a little bit more readable. Again, this one will be again within the LI tag. And that's the last one with LI. Okay. That's your UL at the end. So this is where my list begins. The bullet list will begin, and then there's a list item for each of the items in the list. All right. Now let's look at how this will show up on the browser or in the browser. If yeah, so it is a bullet list. It okay. Now the problem here is it's showing multiple lines because um, the size of the browser is a bit smaller. But if I make it like this, you would see that you would like to live is here, and then everything after that is displayed on the next line as in the screenshot. And there is a bullet list for each of the points that are displayed the uh, within the screenshot. Now, there's one thing that we did not do, which is basically bold. The text is bold, right? So the first word in each, not the first word, I think the first couple of words or sentence in each of the bullet points is bold. So we need to change that as well. So for that, just surround whatever word you want you want it to be bold. You just surround it with the B tag, and that's probably just it. Okay, and this should make your first sentence of each of the line items or each of the list items should be bold now. Okay. This is the last one. Infrastructure. Okay, just a space. Save that and go back to the browser. Refresh that and notice how it's bold now. So I think that's pretty much it. If you make it a bit bigger, it would be this way. If you kind of keep resizing it, the text would appear differently, but I think this is what is required to be displayed. So that's your lab 3. For lab 4, we're supposed to extend our index.html page and create a hyperlink on step 1, which is the text on index.html. And that should go to location.html. Now, if you remember, for I think lab 3, we named it location.html. So we have a file for location.html already, right? I don't have an index.html currently, but the index.html that they want you to have is the one that was created in lab 1. So all I would do here is I would just rename this to index.html if you've not done that before, so that you have that with you to work on. So what they want you to do is, again, if I open that page, this part should be a hyperlink, and when you click on it, this file should open up in the browser. All right, that's what we need to do. So for that, let's look at how we can do that. Let me close this. Okay, so going back to lab 4, yeah. So I'll just open that file, which is index.html here, and notice how everything is there. All I need to do is create a hyperlink on the word step 1 so that it takes me to um, you know, the location.html page. So this is already bold. I would add the hyperlink here and move the rest within the A tag. Oops. Okay. So if I save this, nothing will happen. Um, it wouldn't allow me to redirect because I've not specified where it should go. So it still appears as step 1. Okay. Now for allowing it to be redirecting to location.html, you have to use an attribute called href and provide where it should go. So in this case, it should go to location.html. That's the file we created, right? So if I save this um, and go back to lab 1, it's now a hyperlink, right? So if I click on it, it should display for me the location.html, which is lab 3. Now, for this part, I would just rename this building a house, or how to build a house. I'll just give it the same title, how to build a house, so it doesn't become so it's not confusing. That's the whole purpose. How to build a house. Save that, and notice now instead of lab 1, it would just show how to build a house. Now we're supposed to do something else. We're supposed to add the sources section as shown with an ordered list. So ordered list meaning you're supposed to use the OL tag so that it shows numbers, and the links to external sites. Add an email link as shown. Use your own name and email address. So at the end, you're supposed to display a hyperlink that should redirect to your own email address, and instead of Paul Farrell, just use your own name. So let's start with the sources first. So sources and citation. So this part I feel like it's a heading, it's a small heading. So I would probably just use H5 for this. Sources and citation, and then H5, give it a color, green, so that it becomes green. Let's go back and check if that's how it should be. Yeah, almost similar. So that's how it is. And then afterwards, we have to display an ordered list, right? So OL, and then within OL, the list item for each of these list items. So LI, and we're supposed to write bankrate.com, LI again, houselogic, houselogic.com, and then LI dreamhomesource.com. Okay. Notice how it shows up here. Yes, it's a list with numbers. It's an ordered list, but the problem is it's not showing as a hyperlink. So for a hyperlink, we need to use the anchor tab or the A tag. So here within, and you should use the A tag within the list item tag. So A tag, and then move all of this here. Again, A tag, move all of this here. The same goes for this one. Okay. Again, it would not show as links because we've not specified the hypertext reference. So href And notice because it's a website, we need to use HTTP and then whatever website is being used. So I would use the same here, href, HTTP, and then the same here. It's fine if those websites don't exist. All we want to test is if we can use a tag or the hyperlinks with lists and all of that combined together. So homesource.com, save it, go back, refresh, and now it's almost similar. The only thing that's remaining is the last part. We'll look at that. But if we click here, it should take us to that specific website, which is a very good website, by the way. It's a very good website. House logic. Okay, that's nice. And dream home source. Not bad. Okay, I think these are the images we use. No, they're different. Okay, so that's done. Now, the last part is for further information contact, right? So for that, I would go to, again, once my list is complete, I can display the last thing as a paragraph. So for further information, contact, and then my name for the display. Okay, so if I go back and see, again, it will be text. It should be a hyperlink. So surround whatever you want as a hyperlink with an A tag. Okay, and move it here. Oops, move it here. Scroll back. And just zoom a bit out. Okay. So now href, because this is email, right? You're supposed to add an email link. So for email links, we don't use HTTP. We use something called mail to colon and then your email address. So maliha.muzaffar at polytechnic.eh. Save that and go back to the website and see. That's how it is. Now if I want to view the code from the web page itself, I can right click and click on view page source and the same thing shows up here. Okay, you can also inspect. We'll look, but inspect is, I think, better used when you're working with JavaScript or designing like CSS and stuff like that. So for now, I don't think that's required. So this is how you would do lab 4. 5. Now we're supposed to create an images folder, and within that images folder, we're supposed to keep all our images like we discussed before during the class as well. That when you have your images, everything should be in the images folder. Right now, my folder looks something like this. It only has the HTML files, right? So if I want to put the images, I can put them here, but the problem is then I won't be able to differentiate or easily look through my files. It would be very confusing to see, just like how this folder is. This is the one that's house builder files from Moodle. It's very difficult to look through it. You know that there are some images or things like that, but if you view it this way, again, if I just uh, order it through by name, it's very difficult to find what is what unless you look for the type and stuff. So it's best and it's best practice to basically, one second, I should take it back. Okay, so it's best to basically create an images folder to save all your images for your website. So I would just create an images folder here, name it images, and store all my images there. Okay, I've done the first thing, which is create an images folder in your house builder folder, add a line and the picture house.jpg in Moodle to index.html. So I have index.html and I think that's what is open here. Yes. So index.html is open here. Now, what I'm supposed to do is basically, if you notice, if I run this, if you notice here, the difference is there's a horizontal line after how to build house, which is here. That's what I need to add. And at the very bottom, sorry, not at the very bottom, after the second paragraph, I'm supposed to add a picture. That's my picture, okay? That the one I'm supposed to add. Now this picture is available in the house builder files, which is again the zip folder on Moodle. Download it and you'll have access to all of this. Now I think the one that's used there is this house.jpg. So I'll copy this from here and I'll go to my images folder, the one that I just created, and paste it here. Okay, so I have that image here and I can use that in my index.html. So if I go back here, the first thing I want to do is create a horizontal line, right? So I would go at the very top and find where that heading how to build a house is. So how to build a house, this is where it is being displayed. Right after that, I would use the HR tag and it's called horizontal rule. It just displays a horizontal line like this. So there's a horizontal line now which is being displayed. Now after the second paragraph, I just need to display this image here, which is house.jpg, I think. Yeah, house.jpg. So this is my second paragraph in index.html. And here I will use the img or the image tag and display the image here. So in order to let your web page know where that image is that should be displayed, you need to use the src or the source attribute and provide it the location. So how to find out where is the location? First of all, look where this is saved. This is saved in the solutions folder and it's called index.html, right? So I would go to that particular folder, solutions, where index.html is. Now my file is within this folder, images, right? So I'll I'll mention that folder and then I'll mention whatever I want from inside it. So I want house.jpg from inside it, right? So I'll mention that as well. I don't need to write the name of this folder because the index file is already within that folder. So from here, from this folder, wherever you want to go next, that's the folder name you want to display. So in this case, it would be images. So images slash the name was house.jpg, which is, if I can show it to you again, images folder and then house.jpg. Let's save this and let's see how it shows up. Yes, that's how it is. So now my image is there, my sources and everything is at the bottom. That's lab 5, I think, or I think there's more. Oh, yeah, there's more. Now we're supposed to extend the page as shown using finishconcrete.jpg. So finish concrete, which is this particular image, is what we're supposed to display after this big image that is being displayed here. And when you, oops, sorry, let me just open it like this. Yeah, and when you click on that image, you should be taken to this particular website. Okay, now what does that mean? What that means is you need to create a hyperlink on this image. So when I click on this image, it should take me to that particular website which is mentioned here. And below that image, there is a text which is how to finish concrete, right? This is what I need to display right now. So the first thing I would do is create this related sites. So again, I think I can use H6 for that because it's really small and it's below the image. So this image is what I just added to my site, right? So below this image, I need to create H6 related sites and then give it a color green. Okay, save it and let's try to view it if it shows correctly. Yeah, it's a bit small, so maybe H5 would do would be more suitable. Or I think it's bold. That was the difference. But let's see. It's kind of similar. You can use both. I think if I use H6 also and just make it bold, it would be similar. So bold, oops, B, and move all of that within here. Oops, save. Okay, I think it's better to have it as H5. That's much more similar. So this is how you would just test it out. Does it look similar to what is being requested? H5, save it, refresh. Yeah, looks similar. So related sites, and then you have a picture which is called finishing concrete. Oh, finished concrete, right? So again, I would go to the house builder file, locate finished concrete, copy that, and move it to my images folder, which is this is my website folder. And within the images folder, I'll just paste it here. Okay. And then if I go back, I can add the same way. I can add the image to my website, providing it the path where it can access the image from. So images slash finish concrete dot jpg, and that should be it. This is you can add the slash at the end or not. The only thing you need to remember is that img tag is a self-closing tag or it's an empty tag, meaning it doesn't have a closing tag. So you would never write it this way. This, I mean, you would never write it this way. Okay, just write it as one img tag. You do not need to close it. So if I go back, refresh, now I can see the finished concrete. Now the next thing I need to show is how to finish concrete just below the image, right? So I would write it as a paragraph, how to finish concrete. Save that. Let's see if it shows in the same position. Okay, it's very, I think because I think it has a lot of spacing and then it's too big compared to what is displayed there. So probably I can remove this, just display it without the paragraph. Let's see how it shows. Okay, this is fine, but it's showing at the very, actually no, we should use a paragraph. But the problem with that was it's having a lot of spacing, right? So what we can do is just use a break here probably. And let's see if that is fine. Yeah, I think that's fine. I feel like that's a bit zoomed out, and that's why it looks like that. But that's how it should be, I think. Okay, so the next thing that we need to do is when I click on the image, I should be taken to this particular website, which is http wikihow.com. finish concrete. So all, just like how for text, for a hyperlink, you surround the text with the anchor tag. The same way, you're supposed to surround the image that you want to display with an anchor tag. Okay, and for it to be clickable, you need to provide href and the website. Save that, and let's see if it becomes clickable. Yes. So if I click on it, it would take me to this particular page. Okay. And what's next? Let's see. Next, create hyperlink called sources as shown, which links to the sources and citations title created previously on the same page. So just before this image here, we have to create a hyperlink which is called sources. Okay, how can we do that? So this is my image for house. I can just create a hyperlink here, call it sources, and href is, we should decide what it should be, right? Where should it link to? So now there is, if you look, okay, first of all, let's save this and see if it shows us the same thing. Yes, but there's a bit of spacing after this. So for that, or you can just add a break. So the image, there's a spacing. Did it save? Should be fine. Maybe let's add another break. Yeah. So now I have a sources hyperlink. When I click on it, it should take me down to this particular section, which is sources and citation. Okay, so how can we do that? Now, just like we spoke about this previously in the class, you have an identity, or you have an ID that is related to you. For example, whether that's your CPR, whether that's your student ID, it is used to refer to you. Because why do we do that? Because the names can not be unique, right? There can be three people with the same name. How do you identify them? You give them an ID, and based on that, you know that every ID is going to be unique, and you'll be able to access that ID later on. So here I would, so yeah, here I need to scroll down to the sources section, right? This section. So for this section, I can assign an ID so that I can refer to it in my code. I can give it an ID, and later on I can use that ID, and that ID would just take me to this particular space. How do I do that? The first thing is I check what is sources and citation. So I'd go back to my code and see where sources and citation is. It's an H5, right? So I would give it a I would give it a ID and name it probably sources. Okay. Now I can use this ID as a reference, right? So I created a sources, just like this one. I created a sources hyperlink. Now for its reference, I can use the same ID that I created. All I have to take care of is to add a hash just before it. So hash and then the name that I gave it, it should allow me to redirect. Okay, so if I go back, refresh, now if I click on this, notice how it scrolls down to this particular section. That's how it's done. You give it an ID and then you're able to uh, basically just identify that section later on. So the next thing we're supposed to do is extend our HTML location.html page as shown using the text and the picture and the using the text and the picture from Moodle, and floating the picture to the right. Okay, so let's open that. I would close this, open location.html. Okay, and oh, there was an extra text that we're supposed to display, right? So house builder files, find location, open that. So our last was nearby. Okay, this is what we need to display after it. Okay, now I already have the list. So, and okay, let me show it to you. I think that would be better. So if I go back to solutions, location, this is what I currently have. Okay, now I have the points. Now I need to display the other text. So I would just put it there, and there I noticed that there are three paragraphs for it. Now I would just add it after my list as I would just paste it and then add it as paragraphs later on. So this section is a paragraph. I'll surround it with P. So notice it starts from select and the next paragraph starts from have. So I think this is the next paragraph and this is my first paragraph. Move it here. Okay, and then the same thing here for the next paragraph. Okay, and the next one is from consider. Okay, so all of this is a paragraph. I'll surround it with tag. Okay, so I have all those paragraphs. Let's see. Yeah, now I need to make the first sentences bold. So I'll surround them with the B tag. The first sentence is until purchase it. So until here, it should be bold. B, zoom out. Oops. Purchase it. Move it within the B tag. The same thing. The second one is until located. So end it here and I would start it from here. Oops. Okay, and the last one is here. Okay. Now let's see if it displays how it should be displayed. Yeah, so you have text which is bold and it's displayed as different paragraphs. Now we need to have this picture. Let's see which picture this is. If I go back here, I think this one, location. So I would just copy this, go back to my solutions folder, my images folder, and paste it here. It's called location.jpg. So I would go back, and now location.jpg is on the left side, sorry, on the right side, and the text is basically on the left side, right? So wherever this is, this, oh wait, is that bold as well? Did I make that bold? No. So this part should be bold as well. Let me change that. Okay, move this within this part. Okay. So just after the heading, if you notice closely, the picture is actually starting after the heading, right? And then the picture is on the right side, the text is on the left side. So just after the picture, just after the heading, I would add the image tag and src for the source, location, provide the location for it, jpg. Now let's see how it displays. So the image is here, the text is below, that's wrong. So for this part, we have to style it so that the picture is on the right. So we'll add a style, float the picture to the right, go back, refresh, and it is a bit similar, but the picture is too big, right? So you can minimize the picture to the size that fits the screenshot here. So for that, you can add, let's say, width 500, 500, and height 500. So we're giving a size for the picture so that it doesn't appear this big, because it makes everything look a bit weird. So yeah, now this is again it's stretching out a lot. So what I can do basically is just remove the height and just keep the width, and let's see what that does. Yeah, so I feel like this is a bit more similar. You can try to, adjust the size so it becomes much more similar to the screenshot here. Maybe make it like 300, and let's see what that does. Yeah, it's too small. 400 would, I think, be a good size for this one. Yeah, I think this is a good size. So 400, yeah, it's pay 4. It ends at pay 4, and in my screenshot it ends at pay. So it's similar, a bit similar. Maybe it would be like 390 or something if I want to be that precise. But you can play around with that number, see um, if it works fine, or if it looks similar to how it should be looking here. So if you start from, I think that's it for this lab, yeah. So if you start from the index page, this is what you should have by now, index.html. You should have an image here, you should have the sources. If you click on the sources, it scrolls you down. You should have an email. If you click on this, it should take you to an email app. These should take you to a website. This one as well should take you to a website. And when you click here, step 1, it should take you to this particular page, which is yeah, finding the location, similar to this screenshot. So these are the 5 labs in Unit 1. And for the remaining labs, I will be uploading the videos once we complete them in the class. Thank you for watching.